When you find two of the same haraka written above or beneath a letter, all we're going to do is simply add the N sound at the end. So while one fatha sounds like a, two fathas sound like N. One kasra sounds like I, two kasras sound like in. One dhamma sounds like u, two dhammas sound like un. And this concept, as we're going to see, is called tanween. Now, one important thing to recognize about the dhamma, this is one dhamma. It's just the simple loop. Whereas this dhamma, it's the loop, but it also has that attachment that goes up and curves at the end. So specifically, tanween dhamma can be written like this or like this. So if we go to the exercise, we're going to go to number 1. And step 1 is identifying the letter. The letter is, of course, the letter ba, which is represented by the English B. Step number 2 is identifying the haraka. And here we see that there are two of the same haraka. Which haraka is this? This is the fatha, which sounds like the letter A. So we write down an A for the first fatha, but because there's a second fatha, we're going to write an N for the second one, because this is tanween. So when you put it all together, you have the letter ba, which sounds like B. You have a fatha, which sounds like A. And you have a second fatha of tanween, meaning that there's an N. So you would read this as ben. And that's why in English we see it says ben. If we go to the second example, first we look at the letter. It is the letter ba. So we write the B. Next we look at the haraka. The haraka we see is the kasra, which is a line written beneath a letter, which sounds like E. So we use the English I to represent that, B. But then there is a second kasra, meaning it has tanween. So lastly, we put the N. Therefore, when we read this all together, it is bin. That's why using English letters, we sounded it out with bin. So the first row was completed for us, but let's go to number 5 and see if we can do this ourselves. Step number 1, identify the letter. This is the letter ba, which sounds like the English B. Then we look at the haraka. Now we see that this is a dhamma. It's a loop, which sounds like the English U, oo. But we also see that there is this squiggle attachment at the end of the dhamma, which is one way of showing that this has tanween. So it really means that there are two dhammas, and therefore, to represent the second dhamma, to represent tanween, we put an N. So for the letter ba, we have a B. For the dhamma, we have a U. And then for the tanween dhamma, we have an N. So we would read this as bun.